Most people think civilization runs on oil. It doesn't. Most people think governments run the world. They don't. Most people think technology is the driver of history. It isn't. Civilization runs on logistics. Not ideas, not leaders, not innovation. Logistics. The movement of energy, the movement of materials, the movement of information, the movement of goods. If you remove logistics for 72 hours, modern society collapses. No food deliveries, no fuel distribution, no replacement parts, no medical supplies shipments. Supermarkets empty in 3 days. Hospitals begin rationing. Gas stations run dry. It would not take war to destabilize a country. It would take traffic jams. Logistics is the invisible operating system of civilization, and it is far more fragile than people realize. The average grocery store holds roughly 3 days of inventory. That is not a mistake. That is efficiency. Inventory sitting on shelves is capital trapped in storage. Modern supply chains operate on just-in-time principles. Products arrive as they are needed. Trucks replace warehouses. Highway systems replace storage space. Efficiency replaces redundancy. And that works perfectly, until it doesn't. When supply chains are smooth, they are invisible. When they fracture, they are catastrophic. During global disruptions, shipping delays cascaded across industries. Factories stopped not because demand vanished. They stopped because one component failed to arrive. A missing semiconductor halted automobile production. A missing chemical compound halted pharmaceutical manufacturing. A missing cargo container delayed billions of dollars of goods. Modern logistics systems are not linear. They are networks, highly interdependent, highly optimized, highly sensitive. Remove one node and stress spreads across the system. The more optimized a system becomes, the less slack it has. The less slack it has, the more fragile it becomes under shock. Efficiency and resilience often move in opposite directions. That trade-off defines modern civilization. Consider something simple: a loaf of bread. It appears in a store. But behind that loaf are multiple systems: agricultural supply chains, fertilizer production, fuel distribution, equipment manufacturing, grain transport, processing facilities, packaging factories, distribution centers, retail networks. That single loaf is the output of global coordination. Wheat may be grown in one region, fertilizer may be manufactured in another, fuel may be refined elsewhere. Packaging materials may come from an entirely different continent, all synchronized, all timed, all dependent on energy and transportation. If any link fractures, the loaf disappears. We experience the result, not the system. Most people see empty shelves. Few see broken coordination. Now scale that to energy. Power plants rely on fuel shipments. Fuel shipments rely on refineries. Refineries rely on crude supply. Crude supply relies on drilling infrastructure. Drilling relies on specialized components. Components rely on global manufacturing networks. Electricity feels stable. It is not. It is a tightly balanced equilibrium between supply and demand. Power grids operate within narrow tolerance bands. Too much supply destabilizes. Too little supply destabilizes. Energy is not stored at scale easily. It must flow continuously. Logistics is not just about products, it is about timing. Modern systems operate on synchronization. When timing fails, systems stall. The Suez Canal blockage revealed something uncomfortable. One ship, one channel, one obstruction, and global trade slowed. Billions in delayed shipments, factories waiting, ports congested, insurance rates rising. A narrow waterway became a systemic choke point. Logistics networks concentrate flow through critical arteries. Those arteries are leverage points. Control a port, and you influence supply chains. Control a shipping lane, and you influence energy markets. Control air cargo hubs, and you influence semiconductor distribution. Logistics is geopolitical power, not symbolic power. functional power. Countries that control logistics corridors shape global economics. Infrastructure is not passive, it is strategic. Now consider Amazon. Most people think Amazon is an e-commerce company. It is not. It is a logistics network that sells products. Its advantage is not selection. It is distribution density. Warehouses positioned near population centers. Algorithms predicting demand before orders are placed. Delivery routes optimized by data. Air cargo fleets reducing transit time. Amazon built infrastructure first. Retail is layered on top. That inversion is strategic. Build the network, then monetize the network. Logistics first, commerce second. This pattern appears repeatedly. Railroads built before industrial expansion. Highways built before suburban growth. Fiber optic cables built before streaming services. Infrastructure precedes scale. Scale rewards infrastructure. Here is the tension. The same systems that enable abundance also create dependency. If food arrives daily, people stop storing food. If fuel is always available, people stop planning alternatives. If goods ship instantly, patience declines. Convenience compresses resilience. Modern consumers optimize for speed. Systems optimize for efficiency. Governments optimize for economic output. Few optimize for redundancy. Redundancy looks wasteful in stable periods. It becomes priceless in unstable periods. The more complex a system becomes, the more failure points it accumulates. Complexity is invisible until stress tests it, and stress always arrives eventually. Cybersecurity adds another dimension. Modern logistics systems are digitally coordinated. Ports operate through software. Shipping schedules run through centralized platforms. Warehouses depend on automated inventory management. Delivery fleets rely on routing algorithms. If digital coordination fails, physical flow slows. Logistics is now a cyber-physical system, physical infrastructure controlled by digital networks. That multiplies leverage. It also multiplies vulnerability. A cyber attack can disrupt physical supply. A software failure can stall transportation. Digital fragility overlays physical fragility. This is not theoretical. Global incidents have already demonstrated this. The surface area of risk expands with connectivity. Connectivity increases efficiency. It also increases exposure. Now consider war. Military strategy increasingly targets logistics. Not just territory, not just leadership. Fuel depots, rail lines, bridges, ports, supply convoys. Armies collapse when resupply collapses. Historical campaigns reveal this repeatedly. Operational success often hinges on logistics capacity, not battlefield tactics, not individual heroics, not even weapon sophistication. Logistics sustains force. Without it, capability evaporates. Modern militaries invest heavily in supply chain resilience. Civilian infrastructure often does not. Yet civilian systems are equally interdependent. There is another dimension rarely discussed: psychological stability. People assume shelves will be stocked. They assume electricity will function. They assume fuel will flow. The predictability of logistics creates social calm. Disruption creates anxiety disproportionate to material loss. Empty shelves produce panic, not because of starvation, but because of perceived instability. Logistics is not just material infrastructure, it is confidence infrastructure. When flow appears stable, trust in the system strengthens. When flow fractures, trust erodes quickly. And trust once eroded is difficult to rebuild. So what makes a logistics system resilient? Diversity of routes, redundant suppliers, buffer inventories, decentralized distribution nodes, energy diversification, strategic reserves, clear contingency planning. Resilience requires accepting inefficiency. Efficiency resists redundancy. There is always pressure to reduce cost, to streamline operations, to remove slack, to maximize throughput. That pressure improves margins. It reduces shock absorption. Societies must decide where to balance maximum efficiency or durable stability. That trade-off defines the future of infrastructure. Here is the paradox. Logistics is the most critical system in civilization, yet it receives the least attention, because when it works, it disappears. When you flip a switch and lights turn on. When you tap an app and groceries arrive. When fuel flows from a pump without interruption. You experience convenience, not coordination. But behind convenience is choreography, a synchronized ballet of ships, trucks, data systems, warehouses, refineries, ports, satellites, roads, and power grids, all moving continuously, all dependent on energy, all dependent on timing, all dependent on each other. Remove the choreography, and the illusion of stability dissolves. Civilization does not run on oil, it runs on movement. It does not run on leaders, it runs on flow. It does not run on innovation alone, it runs on distribution. Logistics is the hidden architecture of modern life. Invisible when stable, unforgiving when fractured. If you want to understand power, study logistics. If you want to understand fragility, study logistics. If you want to understand how civilization scales, study logistics. Because the world is not built on ideas, it is built on supply chains, and supply chains are built on systems.